Hello and welcome along to Mondo Chelloveck Movies. My name is John, and this is going to be a realization video for the fact that I haven't put a video out saying what I watched in the month of November 2021. So I'll put that right now. So one of the things we did do in November was to get Disney Plus. Now on there was The Mandalorian. That was one of the reasons why we got it, and we binge watched the whole 2 series of them and we thoroughly enjoyed them. We thought it was one of the best things we'd seen in this sort of Star Wars franchise for a long time. Much better than most of the recent movies, if I'm honest. It was so watchable. It was really enjoyable. We can't wait for the Book of Boba Fett, which is coming out very soon, and also Mandalorian Series 3, which is coming out next year. So we're very excited for that. So that kind of took up most of our watching time for this month. Not a lot of films got watched. So let's get into it. First of all, I watched the 4K of Beetlejuice. Now this movie is one of those movies that I haven't seen for that length of time, and I'm sure you're the same when you haven't seen a movie for about 15-20 years, and you go back to it, you think, is this movie going to be anything I thought it was when I first watched it? And I'm pleased to say it is. I really enjoyed this movie. The 4K on here is absolutely stunning. It's one of the best 4Ks I've seen in a long time, and the movie itself for me is just as good as I remember it. In fact, I think it's better. I do prefer the sort of protagonist in this movie, the couple that died at the start of the movie. That's not a spoiler. And Beetlejuice itself, the character, is not in the film that much. That's not taking anything away from the fact that Michael Keaton's great in the movie, but I did find that I enjoyed the sort of whole movie and the more of the sort of set pieces, and also the waiting room when it's got that fella with the small head, the shrunken head, is just one of my favourite scenes in all movie history for me. So I thoroughly recommend this if you're thinking about getting a version of this. I mean, I got this for about £15, so it didn't break the bank at all. So that's Beetlejuice. Next up, I watched an amazing film, an amazing presentation. It is Robotrix. Now this is a recently released special edition by 88 Films. Now they know what to do with a special edition. These Category 3 movies that are releasing, for me, they're just absolutely brilliant. They're packed with extras. They've got an amazing print. This one looks absolutely spectacular. The movie itself is really crazy. It features this sort of story that these sort of robots are built to, and you can't differentiate them from real people, weirdly enough, and they're it's sort of like a martial arts tournament thing. It's a really odd film, but not in a way that it's so amusing and so fun. So there's more over-the-top kung fu in this than there is sort of adult material. But I just think it's just brilliant, and I can't wait to see if they do any more next year. I really hope they do. Like I say, this package is absolutely stunning. It's well worth it if you can find it. That's Robotrix. So next I got on a subscriber mail from my good friend Millerman12345, otherwise known as Paul, and he sent me over 2 movies, and I watched one of them, and it is The Hunters. Now I didn't know what this movie would be. I didn't know how to sort of pigeonhole it, if I had to put it in. Was it like a sort of Deliverance type movie? Now this is a quite interesting movie actually. If you can find this in CEX, I think they sell it in CEX. I'll urge you to pick it up. This movie is it's more graphic than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be a sort of run-of-the-mill, average sort of Deliverance type movie, but it's far from that. This ex-soldier who becomes a policeman, he goes into this sort of community, and they are hiding a sort of secret, and he's got to try and find what's happening in this like fort where they have these sort of strange practices. And there's a lot more to it than you would think, and very graphic in some scenes as well. And I thought it was a really good watch, and I want to thank Paul once again for sending me this. I would have never known it existed if he hadn't sent it. It's got quite a good cast actually. When I looked through it, I thought, oh yes, there's quite a few people that I'd seen before. And there was a fella in here, and I think he's called not Terence Knox. I think it might be Tony Becker or Stephen Waddington. He looks the spitting image of Jim Carrey. He could be Jim Carrey's brother if they ever make a film like that. It was quite weird. I don't think it's got a picture of him in here. But yeah, I really enjoyed it actually. So thanks once again, Paul, for sending that to me. It's great when you get a movie that you've got no idea what it's about. Someone sends it to you, and you would never have picked it up off the shelves. But here it is, and I had a really good time with it. That's The Hunters. Thanks once again, Paul. Next up on 4K is The Last Action Hero. This movie is one of my favourite Schwarzenegger movies. I've always liked it since day one. I think the sound quality in here is just spectacular. The picture quality in here is absolutely amazing as well. No slipcover, but that's the way it is. I don't understand why that is. The first run, it just never had one. Although it had some really good special releases of it, it just had a really poor standard release. But anyway, I might try and sort that out next year. But anyway, I do urge anybody who is sitting on the fence with whether or not they want to see this on 4K. The 4K on here just looks absolutely stunning. Now this one for me, it slips under the radar, a bit like True Lies, but obviously True Lies slips under the radar because Cameron doesn't want to re-release it. But I do really rate this one very highly. I'm so glad I got it in 4K. Just wish it had a slipcover. Next up is a film that me and my wife watched. I made her watch this because I said, you've got to see it and I will not let you not watch this. I put my foot down. And it is Whiplash. Now, everybody who's seen this movie knows how good this movie is. If you haven't seen this movie, you've got to check it out. Mainly for the performance, well, the performances of J.K. Simmons and also Miles Teller. They're both brilliant in this movie. This is the 4K, which I put in the Blu Ray box. And the 4K itself isn't a massive jump up on picture quality of the Blu Ray, but I like that film this much that I had to get it. And the sound quality is a big step up for me. I think that it sounded absolutely brilliant. This movie, so did my wife like it though, because she didn't want to know about it because she'd heard a little bit about the story and she says, I don't think it's my cup of tea. And I said, you've got to see it because of the twists and the turns, and obviously J.K. Simmons' performance is just something else that you've got to watch to be believed. And she did love it, actually. She said it was really, really good and really intense as well. And she was quite, well, mesmerised by J.K. Simmons' performance, as everybody is. And I said he just plays just a stupendous part. And all the Academy Awards or whatever they got, this film got, is rightly deserved. So I urge anybody who hasn't seen this movie, it's not a movie, it's got drumming in it, which is what I wanted to see it for, but it's more than a movie about drumming. That's Whiplash. Next up is one of my favourite films of all time. Now I just started to get these movies this month, and I've got them all now. Well, the first 5 that have been released, and it is Halloween on 4K. Now, I'm going to do a sort of ranking in a different video of this with the whole 5 from Scream Factory. All I can say is if you're wanting to get these, pounce on them now, because they're only about £20 to £25 free packaging on Amazon Prime when you order it. So I was really quite surprised at how easy these were to get. Now this one here was John Hall, my good friend John Hall, HallGoss73. He brought this over to me and he gave me this is a great price, and he brought it over because he had 2, so I immediately bought it off him, and I've got to say it looks absolutely stunning. This for me, this colour, like the colour that they've got in this movie is perfect. It's not too bright like some of the Blu-rays have been, and it's not too autumnal like some of the other 4Ks have been. I think Scream Factory have got this spot on with this. So I had to watch Halloween. Well, of course, when you watch Halloween, you've got to watch Halloween 2. So I watched this immediately afterwards, and I've got to say that these movies sort of play off on each other. I think these movies are like companion pieces, and really you could have ended the story there with these 2. Obviously it didn't, and it's still going today, isn't it? But I do feel that these are companion pieces, and if you want to get a sort of timeline of Halloween, these 2 films will give it to you. But even though this is not a Carpenter film, it feels like a Carpenter film, and it looks spectacular as well. Best I've ever seen it look, as all of the Halloween ones do on their Scream Factory. So they're highly recommended. I would imagine if you can get them like now, you will get your hard box as well, which is one of the best boxes ever, the best presentations of this movie. It's packed with extras. But the Blu-rays in here, or DVDs in this case, extras, are region locked, so you need a multi-region player for the DVDs on here. So that's Halloween 1 and 2. So what are my favourite 3 recommendations of the month? Well, coming in at number 3 is a movie that I didn't think would be, I thought I would enjoy it, but I didn't think I would enjoy it that much, and it is The Young Offenders. Now this was the movie that came first, then the series came after it. Now I do watch the series, I've watched all the series. I thought it was absolutely brilliant. I think that these two characters who are in the series as well play an amazing part. Now in this story, this guy here has found out that a ship is washed up on shore, and there's been some drugs in the when it's washed up. So they went, obviously this is what you do, you go to it and you go and find yourself a big bag of drugs. That's their theory. So they go off on this journey, this odyssey, to go to this place to get this bag of stuff. Now in the sort of, not to give anything away, in this story they do come across loads of things. It's like a bit like an odyssey, going like on a sort of road journey, road trip on bikes, and they go and they do come across this guy here, who's he plays one of the girls that they go out with in the series. He plays the father, or he's a different character in this one, and he's a right psychopath. And what he is they steal the drugs. They find that the ship, everyone's took the drugs off it, but they find that he's got some drugs, so they take it off him. And then he comes back to try and get the drugs off them, and it is just a laugh a minute. I just like these two. I like the way that they go on, but the film itself, apart from being just like crazy and mad, it's got so much heart as well, like surprisingly so, like the TV series has. And you find yourself quite emotional at parts in this movie, because there's a lot of things going on with their families and their fathers and stuff, and the relationships. So there's a lot more to it than just, somebody, just a bit of a daft film. I think that's why the film and the TV series are highly rated. So that's The Young Offenders. So coming in at number 2 is The Grand Budapest Hotel. Now I watched this because we got Amazon Prime, and I was just mooching through it, and I saw that there's a lot of Wes Anderson films on there, and I thought, oh, that's one that I really wanted to check out. I watched it, and I'm a big fan of his movies, the ones I've seen, and honestly, this movie just looks spectacular. In certain places you would think you're watching a 4K. It's just stunning, and it's the attention to detail, and also the attention to what's framed in the picture. Sometimes it's framed as a sort of square, sometimes you get the full widescreen. It's just a joy to behold, and you've got to say it because it's so odd and so quirky. But the whole characters who are in here, I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of Ralph Fiennes, but he's absolutely amazing in here. At this moment, this is my favourite Wes Anderson film, and I need to see more of his stuff on the back of this. I knew this film was going to be good, but I think because it was so odd and so good, it's one of those ones that's like, it's like a cult classic, rightly so. It's on Criterion. It's a little bit expensive at the minute. I will get in a sale, but this is definitely one on me high on my list. So this movie's on Disney Plus. That's why one of the things when I got it, I thought I'd check out a few things on there that I can't get, but I just wanted to check out. It might have been rubbish, and I would have had to say, well, it saved me a bit of money. But I will be going and getting this on Blu Ray. I would love to see it on 4K because, like I say, it looked that nice that if there's a 4K out of this one ever comes out, it would look spectacular. The colours on here are amazing on a Blu Ray or HD. Never mind what they could look like in ultra high definition. It's such a good looking film. That's The Grand Budapest Hotel. So at number 1 is a movie that I've seen before and I did really want to get. It's one of those ones that's sort of, you can't get it over here, but it is in the States and it's on my list to get, but I've never got around to it. And it's one of these movies, if you've seen it, you'll know how good this movie is. If you haven't seen it, I do urge you to try and check it out. It's on Disney Plus at the minute, and it is Office Space. Now this movie came out in 1999. And it's got so many quotes. This movie is so quotable, it's unreal. This whole character here, this fella here who's in it, it's just, I don't want to spoil anything of this movie, but well, basically it's in like an office space, and there's a bloke in here who's just sort of saying, I've had enough of my job, I just don't want to do it anymore. So he decides not to do it anymore. But he goes to a hypnotist. This hypnotist is doing this sort of like healing sort of thing, healing. So he goes and hypnotizes this fella, and when he's hypnotizing him, the fellow who's hypnotizing him dies, and this fella's left hypnotized to thinking that don't care less about your job. So he goes into his job, and he's got the opinion that he just doesn't want to do anything. And he just takes a thing where he just says, I'll come in today, but I'm not going to do anything. I'm going to sit at my desk. I'm not going to do a thing. But it's so good. and you can relate to somebody who's sick of the job, and you just think, right, I'm just not going to do it. So, and he actually gets further on in the job because of that attitude. It's just great. And this character here gets all, like, there's always in an office, there's somebody who gets all the rubbish, and he gets moved, his desk gets moved further and further back. He gets put in the basement, and the turn on it says, when you're in here, would you mind working with your lights off, because you're trying to save money. So he just mumbles all the time, and he keeps saying, well, no, don't, and you just turn the light off. And he's just left there, but there's a lot more to it than that. If you can see this movie, Office Space, try and track it down. I do want to get it on Blu Ray. I don't even know if it's out on DVD over here. I think it might be, but for me, it's a laugh a minute. It's one of those ones where you get them and you can't believe what you're seeing, because I don't think it's talked about that much. I know that whoever's seen it and whoever has seen it on here, I know they will love it and they will agree with me on how good this movie is. And please try and track it down, because you'll have a great time. So anyway, that's it. That's what I've watched for the month of November. Now from now, I'm going to take a bit of a break till sort of like what I call like the dead zone, which is between like Christmas and New Year's, where there's just nothing happening, and you don't know what day it is, you don't know what year it is, you don't know what's going on, and time seems to stand still. So I'll get over Christmas, and then I'll be back sometime in that the dead zone before I start back again in the new year. So I expect a couple of videos before the end of the year, I think, and it just depends on sort of, you know, family and who's up and what they're doing and where we're going. So yep, so thanks for watching. You take care. You all have a good Christmas out there, and I'll see you on the next video. Cheers now. Merry Christmas.